I'm Timur Savan, and welcome to episode 2 of The Lighting Plan. On today's episode, we're going to meet Jendra Jarnagin, a cinematographer with 25 years of experience in narrative and television filmmaking. She's going to give us a masterclass in how to light the human face.
Hi, I'm Jendra Jarnagin. I'm a cinematographer, and today we're going to do a lighting demo about lighting faces. Specifically, we're going to show how the position of the key light, especially when using directional lighting, can make a huge difference. A lot of people start with like a one-size-fits-all lighting setup, that we've been taught, or, lighting 101, like a 3-point key, fill, backlight, certain ratios, just use a soft light, put it 45 degrees off camera and like set it and go. And then that works, you can put in kind of anybody and they're gonna look fine. But the difference between, let's say, average lighting, maybe B- lighting, looks good, and wow, that looks amazing and fantastic, A+ lighting can come down to just moving your key light a few inches, right or left, up or down, and it all has to do with the individual's face. So let's start by introducing which lights that we're using today. For our key light, we have the 1200 AIO, and I specifically chose a softbox that's not too big. Basically, the bigger the softbox or any soft source, whether that's a softbox or a big diffusion, the bigger that is relative to your subject, the softer your light will be. Over here, we have an array of the zip tiles. We put some muslin over it to soften it even further, but these are all modular and individually controllable, and I just use them as a stack to have a large source to come through this silk here as our fill light, so that we have a large shadowless and directionless source to our fill, so that it's not competing with the key light that I generally like my fill lights to feel invisible and are just there for to lift the exposure. And up on the back wall up there, we've got some tube lights with some egg crates on them, and that's just obviously a general soft wash that gets Farah's hair, shoulders, etc. I'm going to keep everything at 5600, which is the same as the camera, so that all the light is neutral and blends together with themselves. So let's take a look at what each of these lights are doing so you can understand what you're looking at. Timur, can you turn off the key light? As you can see, that's a very low level fill. It's not doing too much. And then let's turn off the backlights.
It's backlights down.
Okay, let's turn the key on with the backlights off.
Key coming up.
Okay, and then turn the backlight back on, so you can see what the backlight's doing. So there you get a nice little sheen here in the shoulders, and then also on Farah's dark hair. All right, let's turn the fill light off.
Fill is off.
You can see, depending on what you were doing for your drama and the kind of your scene, this could be a choice, right? You could, based on a well-placed key light relative to your talent's face, like this looks good with no fill because of where we put the key. But let's turn the key back on again.
Moments away. Fills back up.
Basically, it's not so harsh, it's not so moody, not so dramatic. It feels more natural and more normal, but less intense, but still having a strong directionality to the key. It's almost like the fill's doing nothing, like it's so low level, but as you can see, it was doing quite a lot, the difference between having it and not having it. What I want you to look at here is the shadow being cast by Farah's nose. Everyone has a nose shadow, and that's the main thing that we have to work with people's faces in terms of the position of the light is in people's facial structure is their nose and what looks good on them. And this is the biggest factor in what is different for every individual. So let's see what happens when we raise the light up physically on the stick, not on the dimmer. So this shadow here Raise it up a lot. Basically, all of this nose shadow is about blending in to the individual's face. Let's lower it again live so that the viewer can see just like what looks good, you know, with the roundness of their face, the steepness of their face. Yeah, keep
Coming down.
So you can see that shadow moving. And, you know, they both look good. It's just a matter of what you're looking for. All right, so let's now take the light around, so come more frontal with it.
Frontal?
Like, let's say that we didn't like this nose shadow,
Yeah,
or let's say that it maybe didn't look as good on a different person than it does on Farah. That also looks pretty, but looks quite different. This to me feels a little more lit. It feels like a person has a light shining in their face, which could be pretty for an interview, a makeup commercial. Whereas when we were off to the side and we were low and we had this nose shadow, I felt it wrapped really nicely around the bottom of Farah's cheek. Whereas right now where this nose shadow is, I feel it's a little distracting. Because it's directional, but because it's a hardish soft light, this shadow here, I feel like is distracting me. I want to send this nose shadow, instead of being to the side of the nose, that it's underneath. While we're doing that, let's march it closer to her so we come in with a steeper angle.
How's that feeling?
That's a look. That's very glam. Can you come even a little more
Frontal?
Frontal, yeah, because now I'm looking for symmetry. Come down on stick a little bit. Now I want to hide that nice symmetrical nose shadow.
Coming down?
Where the nose meets the upper lip. Yep, keep going down. Okay, so that's super frontal, but that looks very intentional, but it's pretty. So we ended up more or less right over the camera in order to get a symmetrical placement of the nose shadow. Because otherwise it was, you know, such a strong look that having the nose shadow to one side or the other, like, was looking off to me. So this ends up being quite flat, and quite intense. It looks very lit. So not something I would ever want to do in a drama or any sort of narrative. Let's see if we can find a happy medium.
Coming around, clearing the leg, and we're going to back away on axis.
Okay, that looks interesting. That has a nice directionality to it. It's just that we are having to combat nose shadow that, since it's coming from one side, that it's the asymmetry of it bugs me. So let's increase the level of our fill light.
You said 30?
30, yeah.
Confirming.
So what I'm looking for is to maintain a sense of directionality, but to find the boundary of like where this nose shadow is not distracting anymore. It's pretty and it's less aggressively intentional looking. It's a little more naturalistic, but it's still glam and pretty.
Yeah, and what's cool is sort of by default, just because each channel is individual with the way that thing is set up, we're actually like kind of brighter on the bottom than we are on the top.
Which is good because we're trying to get the shadow's coming from the top, and so we're trying to get underneath.
Unintentional, but very useful.
Happy accident, yes. All right, so that's pretty. Let's go back to our base level, very low level fill light, because I'm gonna go the opposite direction with this key.
Coming down to 10 on the 2 that I adjusted.
Let's start taking the key while maintaining focus on her. Start arcing it around in a circle past where we had started it, and then keep going even more off to the side.
So I'm kind of holding that radius that we had. We're now sort of at where we were, passing a little bit beyond that, so getting into the 8 p.m. on the dial. Approaching 9.
All right, hold there.
Holding.
So now this side of Farah's face is in darkness compared to the key side. Whereas if our model was someone with a flatter nose, that would appear very differently. So Farah, can you turn and face the light? Look how beautiful that is. So we see the light wrapping around the entire side of the face. So it also matters which direction your talent is facing, where you put your light. Okay, and then back forward again. All of this shadow here is being created by the structure of her face. And again, that's very individual. Could be completely different with a different shape of face, as well as different skin tones that are either more reflective or less reflective, would show less contrast than this. So this, again, this also looks good, but far more dramatic. So this might be something that you would do in a night interior scene in a movie, or if you were doing an interview that was maybe more somber or serious. It's a different mood. So part of the fun of this basically is exploring your talent's face. So it's great to be able to leave some time for this in your lighting setup. You can start walking back around, Timur, while we talk about this. It's part of why we put our key light on wheels, and it's part of why I'm working with a softbox, because it rides along with the key light as opposed to doing, one of these big, sheets and 12 bys and whatever. This would whole operation be a lot harder to move around. So this position here is something else we were looking at as we were exploring and moving the light around and studying Farah's face. Relative to the light is something that is called Rembrandt cheek patch lighting. So after the painter Rembrandt, who made many portraits that had a similar lighting style, that had a soft directionality that wrapped around, and with the nose shadow would have that the light from the key side would hit the other cheek. And so that the shadow from the nose always blends into the face, down the cheek in a soft way that blends into the face. So this little bit here on the other side is flattering on all people, but finding the position for each person will be a little bit different. Is getting a little extra sheen.
Let's try this.
There we go. Okay. All right, so after all that playtime of moving the light around, seeing what happens, exploring our preferences, what's the right vibe, what looks best relative to Farah's face, etc., we are back to our base level lighting setup. So where the light is I thought it looked a little more interesting to come slightly more frontal than the Rembrandt cheek patch, half-sidey situation. We left the fill level low, like at that really low level that we had. And this to me is what I'm choosing, as they all looked good in their own way, but this is what feels good to me, and that I like, and that I want to go with, and that I can say, this is done, this looks good, I'm happy. However, I want to show you a nice little trick. I have a little beauty pop, little extra something something. You could elevate this to give it a little something subtle, and that's a little extra. So that was our lighting setup that we liked. Okay, and then our little added pop back on. Pop. So what I went for here is I took a Fresnel, zoomed it all the way in so it was full spot, and we brought it really physically close to the talent so that the spottiness retained its circle, so that it's very, very localized on this part of the face. So it draws your attention here. And we specifically set it at a really low intensity so that it is not taking over for the key light. So the key light is, the broad stroke is creating the exposure, the directionality, and especially the directionality of the nose shadow. And then we took this more or less right over camera, but we took it on the same side as the key light. Do not want it on the opposite side of the key light because this is a hard naked light. There's no diffusion on there at all. It's a naked Fresnel. And the reason it doesn't look hard or harsh is because it is so low intensity, but also that it is compatible with the positioning of the key light. I like that the intention here, what it does is it activates some skin highlights. It gives the skin a little more depth. It brings, sort of the facial features and the beauty of the face forward. And it just looks a little bit elevated. When we had the lighting setup that we had, and I thought it looked good and it wasn't missing anything. But now when you turn that off, I was like, wow, it looks so much better with it. How did we not, ask for that in the first place? And it's just a matter of knowing what's possible and having a few tricks up your sleeve to add some bonus when you have the time. Now that you've seen how very small changes can actually make quite a big difference, I encourage you to take your own lighting to the next level by experimenting with your lighting position based on the unique features of your subject.